She always left early. I used to love the silence she left behind. It was soft, full of permission. A quiet I could fill with toast crumbs and the low hum of morning news. But that morning, silence felt like something was hiding in it. Something breathing beneath the surface. The kettle started its soft rumble just as I tapped the spacebar. The screen blinked awake. Familiar. Blue-lit. Still logged in under her name. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to check the weather. But the moment I moved the cursor, a notification slid in clean, bold, almost cheerful. Thanks for booking your hotel in Kazan. Kazan. We don't know anyone there. And I know her calendar, at least I thought I did. She said she'd be leading a workshop that week. 40 minutes away, local university. Tuesday through Thursday. This wasn't 40 minutes. This was a flight. And a lie. I clicked. Her inbox opened without resistance. No password prompt. No second thoughts. It unfolded like it had been waiting for me. Like it expected to be seen. For bookings. For cities. All midweek. All quiet. The kettle screamed behind me. I didn't move. I just stared. The names of the hotels meant nothing. But the pattern did. Neat. Clinical. Like someone punching holes in the life we built. My hand trembled slightly. Not from fear. Just from the weight of seeing something I wasn't supposed to. My face didn't flinch. It just watched. I whispered her name. Not to call her. Just to hear what it sounded like now after. She had always come home warm. Laughing. Grateful. That laugh that curled at the ends like ribbon. I used to love that sound. But I sat there wondering who she was laughing for. And whether I had just become the place she returned to in between. I told myself it could be a mistake. A conference error. A client's trip she forgot to mention. I wanted that to be true. I needed it to be true. But her credit card was there. Her name in the booking confirmation. Her smile still in the profile photo. Not a work trip. Not a forwarded receipt. Just her. And the tab still open. Was it carelessness? Or was it something else? A message. An opening. A test. She always cleared her tabs. Always. I'd watched her hover and close things with the precision of a surgeon. But not that night. Not this one. Like she wanted it found. Like she needed me to know without saying it. I didn't close the laptop. I didn't move. Just sat in the glow of a screen that had stopped being ours. And suddenly, I couldn't remember the last time she reached for me first. At first, I told myself it was work. Logical. Necessary. She had clients in odd places. Consulted for retreats. Sometimes booked last minute. I had seen it before. So I let it make sense. Until I saw what she packed for Omsk. Lace underwear. Black heels. A silk pouch for perfume. No one needs those things for a midweek training. Not in Omsk. Not in February. The kettle had long gone cold. I was still sitting there, the screen flickering against my face, clicking through her inbox like it was evidence. Like it could explain her away. Each email was a breadcrumb, hotel confirmations, flight e-tickets, Uber receipts. Her name in the headers. Her words in the notes. All under the same calm tone. Like routine. I wrote them down. One column for cities. One for dates. And a third for the personal notes she left herself, like echoes. Early check-in, need time to shower. Remember to bring black heels. Perfume low, buy more. No mention of meetings. No attachments. No subject lines with keywords. Just movement. Style. Silence. She had been home the night before. Made us pasta. Kissed my neck while I stirred the sauce. Told me the basil smelled like summer. Laughed at nothing. How do you fake something like that? How do you tuck lies between noodles and still sleep beside someone who loves you? But she had slept. Peacefully. And the strangest part? She came back softer. Sweeter. She kissed deeper after those trips. She clung to me longer in bed. Like disappearing made her miss me. Or maybe guilt is gentler than we think. I started questioning everything. The way she touched my shoulder after trips, was that comfort? Or compensation? The new perfume, was it chosen for me? Or for someone else to pull her closer? And the suitcase. Always zipped? Always in the trunk before I could offer to carry it. What had I missed? One email had her name spelled differently. A shorter version. Unusual. I searched it. Found a wedding photographer. Another city. Another name. No photo. Just packages. Soft lighting. Phrases like capture your magic. Her alias? A shadow job? Or a shield? I opened her shared calendar. Nothing on those days. Except focus time. She never lied. She just didn't include me in the truth. I leaned back in the chair. Let my eyes blur the list I had written. Omsk. Kazan. Novosibirsk. Irkutsk. It looked like a map, but not mine. And in that moment I couldn't tell what I'd been, a detour she took for comfort or a safe place to hide the real story. And that question, more than any evidence, was what hollowed me out. She always packed light. Said it was efficient. Said she hated clutter. Liked knowing exactly where everything was. I used to admire that, the way she moved through airports like she belonged in every terminal. Like the world was just a collection of places she could touch and leave behind. That night she was in the shower, humming something low, unfamiliar. A tune without words but full of something. I stood in the hallway. The suitcase sat by the door. Her black carry-on. Always the same one. Always zipped. Always off limits. But tonight it wasn't fully closed. The zipper hung open just a little. Not rushed, just forgotten. We had a rule. Unspoken. We didn't go through each other's things. We trusted. Or pretended we did. But the list of cities still sat folded in my wallet. A row of half-truths and dates that didn't belong to me. And the silence between us had started to hum. Like feedback in a mic. Just under the surface. Just loud enough to feel. I knelt down. Pulled the zipper slowly. The teeth parting like breath. Inside, a silk blouse, neatly folded. A color I didn't recognize. Earrings I had never seen. Still in their case. A perfume sample tucked like a secret. And an envelope. No address. No postage. Just her handwriting. Slanted. Confident. Personal. I stared at it for a second. Then opened it. Inside, a photo. Polaroid. Slightly curled. Her standing in front of a mirror. Wearing a midnight blue dress. Hair curled. Holding a glass of something clear. Smiling at someone just beyond the edge of the frame. She looked happy. Not posed happy. Not say cheese happy. But lit from within. On the back, in ink. You said blue was your favorite. I wore it for you. The you wasn't me. The water shut off. My breath caught. I zipped the bag too fast. The metal snagged. It made a sound sharp, unmistakable. My heart jumped. She stepped out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, water glistening on her shoulders. She saw me crouched by the suitcase. Her eyes flicked down. Then up. She smiled. Looking for something? I swallowed. Just thought I left my charger in there. She walked past me. Kissed my cheek. Still damp. Still warm. You're always losing things. And she walked into the bedroom. I stayed there. Kneeling on the floor. Pulse in my ears. The zipper's echo still clinging to the air. And I asked myself. Did she see me? Did she know I knew? Or worse, did she want me to? It wasn't just the suitcase. It was the way she looked at me after. That soft smile. Like she'd already forgiven me for finding out. Like guilt was something she'd prepared for. Packed alongside the perfume. 2 nights later, she was asleep on the couch. Curled under the throw blanket she always stole from my side of the bed. Her wine glass sat on the floor, half full, tilted slightly. A movie frozen at the credits. Some romantic drama she said she'd already seen. I wondered if she had watched it with someone else. Her phone was almost dead. I picked up her laptop to charge it. Just routine. Just maintenance. Just another small favor in a life built on small favors. The screen blinked awake. She'd logged out of her email. Learned that much. But on the desktop, plain as anything, was a folder. Trip docs. It didn't even try to hide. I checked the timestamp. Last opened 3 days ago. My hand hovered over the trackpad. I could still walk away. Pretend I hadn't seen it. Pretend I trusted her again. I clicked. It opened fast. No password. No encryption. Just there. Inside, a mix of order and omission. Train tickets. Boarding passes. Hotel itineraries. Screenshots of city maps and weather forecasts. And then photos. Dozens of them. Not of her. Of spaces. Of silence. Of stillness captured too perfectly. Hotel beds. Fresh, untouched. Then rumpled. Bathroom counters, 2 toothbrushes. Always 2. Never ours. City views at twilight. Candlelit tables. The corner of someone else's coat draped over a second chair. And then one that stopped me. A room service tray. 2 breakfasts half-eaten. A hand reaching for the coffee. Mail. A ring on his pinky. Not mine. Another, her reflection in a hotel mirror. Wrapped in a robe, sitting on the edge of the bed. Writing in a notebook. Face turned, hidden. But I knew that curve of her neck. The file name said Belgrade. Best light. I closed the folder. Then opened it again. Because part of me still didn't believe it. She hadn't hidden any of it deeply. No password protection. No clever file names. No signs of fear. And suddenly I knew this wasn't carelessness. It was choreography. She wasn't afraid of being found out. She had staged being found out. A performance. A reveal. A quiet confession without having to speak. Back in the living room, she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, soft and unfocused. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Just thinking." She smiled, a sleepy, knowing smile. "You think too much." Then she turned over and drifted back. I stood there a long time, watching the slow rise and fall of her breath, the way her mouth softened in sleep. And I whispered, just to myself, "How long have I been a character in your story?" I wasn't planning to read it. I told myself that, repeated it like a prayer. But the way she carried it, always close, always zipped into the side of her bag, made me wonder. She never used to keep a notebook. Not once in all our years. Now it followed her like a pet, or a weapon, something small and private that never left her side. She called it client notes. But one afternoon in the kitchen it slipped. She dropped her tote while reaching for coffee pods, and the notebook tumbled out, hit the tile with a dull thud. She grabbed it too fast, too tightly, like it was a confession with pages. That's when I knew. It wasn't just notes inside. It was a secret she hadn't rehearsed how to deny. So the next time she left, a quick trip to get groceries, I waited, listened to the door click shut, then walked to the entryway. Her bag was still warm. Her scent clung to the leather straps. I opened it slowly, the way you open something sacred. Or cursed. The notebook was wedged between receipts and a phone charger. I took it out. No names. No dates. Just fragments. Lines written in ink so fine it felt whispered. His silence feels heavier than anger. Wonder if he knows. I don't think I care. No one owns anyone. I'm allowed to leave without being cruel. If he ever finds out, maybe it'll free us both. I sat down on the steps, my legs folded beneath me, not out of choice, out of weight. Every word hit like a second-hand echo. Her voice, but stripped of affection, of context, just thoughts raw and private, left behind like smoke. This wasn't the woman who laughed at my bad jokes. This wasn't the voice that left me notes on the fridge or whispered goodnight into my shoulder. This voice was colder, blunt, like she'd been writing for someone who wasn't me. On one page, she'd drawn a sketch, a map, 3 circles, cities I recognized from the list. One had a heart beside it. No explanation, no initials, just that soft little red mark, like punctuation on a sentence I hadn't read yet. I closed the notebook slowly, sealed it like something radioactive, slid it back into the bag, exactly where it was. Later, when she came home, she handed me a pastry, my favorite, the one with custard. She kissed my cheek. "You look tired this morning," she said gently. "Rough sleep." I nodded. She smiled, almost kindly, then turned, humming again, as she unpacked the groceries. And I realized, she didn't need to lie anymore. She only needed me to stay silent. I watched her move through the kitchen like it was a stage. Graceful, practiced, and for the first time in all of this, I didn't feel like her partner. I felt like her audience. There's a moment when grief turns sideways. It stops being sharp, stops being loud, becomes something else. Hollow, lightless, like your body keeps moving through rooms, but yourself stays seated in that chair, still staring at a name on a hotel receipt. She was packing again. Another conference. This time, Helsinki. I didn't ask questions. I just watched. Watched her fold the same blouse from the Polaroid, the one that said, "You said blue was your favorite." She folded it with care, smoothed the fabric like it deserved tenderness. "Need anything from the airport?" she asked, her voice soft, familiar, like we were still us. I almost said, "Maybe a version of you that still needs me," but I didn't. I said, "No, I'm good." She smiled, tied her hair up with a silk band, slipped the notebook into her bag without pause, without performance. She didn't hide anymore, and I didn't pretend. That night, after the taxi pulled away, I stood in the hallway, watched the door, the air around it. The quiet didn't feel peaceful, felt staged. like a house waiting for real people to come back and live in it. I opened the drawer, the one we shared, the one with travel chargers and extra keys. Beneath the clutter, buried under cables, was an envelope. My handwriting, last year's ink. To us, 1 year from now. A letter we wrote together. New Year's Eve. Champagne drunk. Candlelit hopes. I opened it. Her half said, I hope we're still laughing. Still curious about each other. Still choosing each other. I folded it slowly. Pressed the crease back down. There was no anger in me. Just absence. I thought I'd cry. But I didn't. Because you don't cry when something breaks. You cry when you realize it's been broken for a while. And you were the only one still trying to hold it still. That night I made tea for one. Watched the steam rise from the mug like breath from a body that used to be held. The kitchen was clean. Too clean. Like it had been wiped of history. And in that small, ordinary silence, I whispered to no one. I don't think I was ever hers to lose. She was supposed to land at 2:15. I knew the flight number, the terminal, the carousel she usually waited by, pretending not to look for me while texting, just landed. I had stood there before, with coffee, with flowers, once with a coat she said she'd forgotten but never wore. Not this time. This time I watched the sky, stood by the window as clouds moved like ghosts across the glass. The kettle screamed again, louder than usual. Like it knew I wouldn't come silence it. I didn't go to the airport. Instead, I opened my laptop, created a new folder. Truth I didn't ask for. I uploaded everything. The hotel receipts, the mirror photos, the toothbrushes, the room service tray, screenshots from her notebook, the map with the cities, the heart. It wasn't for revenge. It wasn't to confront her. I wasn't trying to catch her in a lie. I just needed proof. A record. Something that said, you didn't imagine it. You were here. You mattered. And it broke anyway. At 2:14, I turned off my phone. Let her land. Let her scan the crowd. Let her wonder where I was. Let her sit in the taxi alone, surrounded by luggage that held someone else's story. Let the silence be mine, for once. I walked into the hallway, took down the photo from Prague. She had laughed that day, all day, spun in the square like a child. And that night, she locked herself in the bathroom, cried for an hour. I never asked why. I thought love meant trusting without needing answers. Now I know better. I wrapped the frame in a dish towel, slid it into the back of the closet. Not out of anger, just readiness. 2:16, the clock ticked. 1 minute late, 1 minute free. And in that small, unremarkable moment, no explosion, no drama, no final goodbye, I made my decision, not to catch her, not to forgive her, but to stop trying to be enough for someone who had already decided I wasn't. When she walked through the door, she smiled like nothing had changed. But I had, and that was the one thing she couldn't read anymore. She stepped inside, wheeling her suitcase with that same casual grace. The kind that came from repetition, from muscle memory, from knowing that home would always be waiting, unchanged. Same navy coat, same tired smile. Hey you, she said, slipping off her shoes, setting them side by side like she always did. I didn't answer, just watched. She leaned in to kiss me. I turned my face slightly. Her lips brushed my cheek. Barely. Something flickered in her eyes. Not shock, just calculation. Everything okay? I nodded once. She paused, then moved toward the kitchen, opened cabinets too loudly, moved mugs like chess pieces, tried to fill the silence with motion. I let her shuffle, let her stall. Finally, she said it. You're quiet. I replied. You left your browser history on the desktop. She froze, not all at once, just slightly. Like a bird mid-step, hearing a rustle in the grass. She turned. What did you see? Her voice was calm, practiced, not defensive, not surprised. All of it, I said, then paused. But mostly, the version of you I never met. She didn't cry, didn't deny. She reached into her bag, pulled out the notebook, placed it gently on the table between us. I thought maybe you would. I stared at it. You wanted me to find it? She nodded. Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I couldn't keep pretending. Her voice trembled once, then steadied, flattened into something more familiar. I didn't want to lie anymore. You didn't stop lying, I said. You just stopped hiding. We sat in that stillness, a silence so deep it had shape. Weight, like furniture between us. Two people who used to share everything, now sharing only the space they used to fill. Finally, she whispered, I never meant for it to last this long. I stood up, walked toward the hallway, past the framed photo I hadn't put back up, stopped by the coat rack. Her coat hung there, still warm from travel, still smelling faintly of lavender, and someone else's room. I turned to her just once. I know, and I meant it, because not every betrayal is loud. Some aren't born from hate, or rage, or malice. Some are born from erosion, from the slow undoing of choosing. And she had simply stopped choosing me. She didn't pack right away. That was the worst part, how normal everything looked after the truth. Like betrayal could live quietly, folded between coffee cups and laundry baskets, hung beside jackets, soaked into the fabric of ordinary things. She stayed. 3 more nights. No pleading, no apologies, just presence. We moved like ghosts in our own house. She watered the plants. I folded towels. She read in bed. I lay beside her, wide awake, counting the breaths between us. The notebook stayed on the table, untouched, unclaimed. She didn't take it back. I didn't open it again. It had already said enough. On the 4th morning, she made coffee. 2 mugs. Left mine on the counter just like always. Same mug. Same steam. I stared at it for a long time, then poured it down the sink. She didn't ask why. She just nodded. That afternoon I found her in the bedroom, packing. She folded her clothes slowly, carefully, as if neatness could undo the damage. Her perfume lingered, lavender and something sharper. I used to love that scent. Now it made my throat close. She turned toward me. I didn't want you to hate me. I don't, I said. I just don't know what you are to me anymore. She reached out. Her fingers brushed my wrist. I loved you. I pulled back. I know. But you left me long before you actually left. No bitterness. Just the quiet finality of truth. That evening I watched her walk to the cab. Suitcase behind her. Shoulders light. She didn't look back. And for the first time I didn't hope she would. The door clicked shut. And the silence that followed didn't ache. It breathed. There's a strange calm after the storm. Not relief. Not peace. Just space. And in that space I stopped needing to be needed. The house felt bigger without her. Not emptier, just honest. No more tension tucked between smiles. No more performance. Just rooms and air and the truth that had always been waiting. Her mug still sat on the shelf. Her book, half-read, leaned sideways on the nightstand. The kettle whistled now and no one rushed to silence it but me. I started waking earlier. No alarms. No urgency. Just quiet mornings and 1 cup of tea. Not out of sadness. Out of habit redefined. The list of cities was still taped inside my drawer. Kazan. Omsk. Belgrade. Helsinki. I didn't tear it down. Didn't burn it. I didn't need to. It reminded me of something I survived. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped wondering which name she was using, what city she was walking through, who she was laughing with now. That version of me, the one who needed to be chosen, validated, protected. He had been unraveling for a long time. Now he was gone. One morning I walked into a bookstore. Bought a new notebook. Blank. Untouched. No maps. No passwords. No confessions. Just pages. On the first one I wrote, I am not someone you lose. I am someone who walks away when silence grows louder than love. And I meant it. Because healing didn't come with fireworks. It came in the small things. Making tea at 7 a.m. Walking past her perfume in the hallway cabinet and not stopping. It came with the quiet realization. I wasn't abandoned. I was released. And in that release I found something steadier than forgiveness. I found myself.